what makes HDFC Life stand out among its competitors?
We are the second largest
Okay.
in the private space and third overall, including LIC. But yes, I think we have continued to be amongst the top three in premiums. And few things that define HDFC Life, I think the core of it, there are two things. One is innovation, whether it is in product innovation, whether it is being the first one to do an M&A, whether it's the first one to open up in GIFT City, life insurer in GIFT City, and many such firsts. And second is in terms of the various products that we have brought up. So every blockbuster product I can confidently say is from the stable of HDFC Life. And why is that the case? Two things again. One is many years ago, even 7-8 years ago, we very sharply defined our role as an insurer. We are not an asset manager. For us, what gives us a lot of satisfaction is significant risk transfer from the average customer to the company, so that the customer can go about their daily life in a much more relaxed manner. And hence, with this clarity, many products that have seen the light of day addressing one or more of risks of mortality, which is dying prematurely, morbidity, which has some of the lifestyle illnesses, longevity, which is all of us living longer, and that's a good problem, but nevertheless there are some nuances of longevity risk wherein threat of outliving one's savings. And the final is overall interest rate risk, because we are in a developing nation, and down the line when you are talking about 10, 15, 20 years, where are interest rates headed? And our products definitely have meaningful amounts to solve for one or more of these risks. So that sharpness in terms of strategy has helped us. So these two are large reasons. Then of course you have the brand, you have some of the corporate governance and so on, those are there, but I think sharply defining for us are these two aspects.
What role does innovation in products play at HDFC Life's strategy of launching new products? How are you able to overcome that challenge and ultimately provide value to the customers?
Extremely important, and it's like I said, it's one of our core strategies wherein we have to anticipate what our customers, or even those who are not our customers, what are they likely to be worried about? Is there a solution that goes beyond only the existing products? That becomes very important. See, India is a very young country. We are changing so rapidly. Just think about it. Gold and real estate used to be the key. Gold, real estate and joint family used to be proxy for insurance, to say we have these things and we don't need insurance. How things have changed in just one generation, wherein financialization of savings. So today almost 50% is physical assets in terms of one's savings, and 50% is non-physical or financial assets. Of the money that comes into financial assets, consistently about 17 to 18% flows into insurance products, right? So it is more and more awareness is coming through. Joint family system, that is now I think more or less gone, at least in cities,
right.
Which means that the demand for housing, demand for youngsters like you to protect yourselves, highly unlikely that parents today, people who are like me in the 50s are going to stay with your kids and vice versa. It will become even more acute with millennials, right? Now, what that means is many things as to how we consume, how we save, how outlook towards life. At the same time, like we mentioned, we talked about earlier, the per capita GDP is increasing, so affordability is increasing. So we are going through this great manthan, and so in the midst of all that, our products can't be static. How we are buying, for example, how people are consuming, how are they consuming news, where do they get their news from, has changed dramatically today, and everything else. And so our products too need to continue to keep abreast with changing both the digital age of customers, both senior citizens as well as millennials, how risks are emanating in India. For example, it was age-old wisdom that if you have a strong family history in cancer, one is very likely to get cancer, and vice versa. The vice versa now is no longer relevant, unfortunately, maybe because of exposure to higher levels of emissions, stress, COVID, you know, and yeah. So even with no family history, people now have higher incidence of cancer. Now, I can't have products that are, you know, were relevant a decade ago. I need to move with the times to say, guys, pay attention to this, right? And that's why I think it's very core to our growth, our outlook, and most importantly, for us to not become a dinosaur.
How is HDFC Life, if at all, it is using AI in the entire insurance underwriting process, right
Yeah.
from lead gen to
Yeah.
risk underwriting to ultimately servicing of claims
Yeah.
or predicting them in a much better manner than before?
So we are extremely enthused, like every sector is, this new kid on the block of AI and the possibilities that it can open up. And exactly like you've said, let me give you some examples. One is in terms of having a 360-degree view of the customer and also predicting what the customer is likely to be interested in. AI is beginning to do that very well. And for us to also know that, okay, this customer's spouse has called, not the customer, but we know that the angst level is high, so this is not the time for us to upsell something. We have to resolve what their issue is. Or on the other hand, the customer is very happy and actually is looking to buy additional, take a rider or include a family member or whatever it might be. But at the same time, we have our AI-led tools on, rather than carpet bombing, what might this customer be interested in now, because the customer now is likely to have had a kid or a mortgage or whatever it might be, or is closer to retirement, and so you're targeting the customer and not carpet bombing the customer. So lesser annoyance, our own bang for the buck, our own close relationship with the customer, where the customer himself or herself is surprised that my insurer knows so much about me and is able to service me in a very bespoke manner. So that's as far as your new business onboarding, frictionless onboarding is concerned. If I were to look at complaints on the other end of the spectrum, earlier you used to have these in and out trays, either physical or even your queues of coming in, so so many calls and so on. Now we are able to sift out an irate customer so that most of the queries can be answered automatically through our AI ML tool, but where there's an irate customer, to pick that out, whether it's in terms of voice modulation, whether it is in terms of certain words that are used in your emails, whether it is in terms of a customer has gone from your calling to sending an email to finally going on social media. So before the customer goes to social media, how do you intercept to say what is it that we can do for the customer? There's no point in resolving a query when damage has been done, but how do you stem the damage ab initio itself? In fact, better is, how do you know that this customer is likely to complain? If the customer is asking about XYZ things, for example, what's my fund value, what's something else, what's my nominee, how can we, through the use of AIML, how can we predict that the customer is looking for something and we can intervene there before it actually becomes a formal complaint? Another example is in terms of underwriting, wherein largely it is done not by humans. We want to reserve human underwriters to more on term, which is higher levels of sum assured. So the stakes are much higher, or more complex cases, more shades of grey. But how can we use this intelligence through the AI to say that we think that this customer's profile is XYZ, and this customer can go through, or this customer is a complete problem area. Let the customer come back after 6 months, so that if they have bettered their reading, say it's a diabetes or a cholesterol, and so on. So we are able to use many data points and customer behavior patterns to be able to get that. Last example I want to give is on training, which is a very cool tool that we have. You can imagine, we talked a lot about many products that we launch. In each product we might have, say, 15, 16 different variants of this and that and features. Now imagine that for us to train all our frontline sales as well as our 2 lakh plus agents, it's a big project, and we keep doing this, right? Now if the people are not trained, they're not going to be able to sell correctly and so on, or they're not going to sell that product at all. Now what we have is that I'm a rookie agent. I go through a digital module of say our latest product, click to achieve, and then I just read it out to my screen, and the screen gives me a score through AI/ML to say that voice modulation, your confidence levels, accuracy to the product itself, and many other things like that, rather than a human trainer, which is impossible to do. What a
Right.
yeah, and the tool is learning all the time, because the trainers keep feeding in to say, okay, this revert, you were wrong, telling the tool to say, or this is not important, ignore this. If you give a feedback to say that I coughed a couple of times. Now that is not an important thing, but if I kept looking at my paper a couple of times, then that is important. So to give a score of what really matters versus something that, so you keep weeding out things that are not important. So getting sharper and sharper and giving this feedback. Right? So every area, especially in our operations and customer connect, is open to this.
Got it.
Yeah. So lesser of gimmicky, but really substance is how we see, wherein humans can do many more value added tasks than just the repetitive tasks that are there.